Yes, and it's playing right here on VybezRadio, and that brings us to Empress Divine.
Yes, sir.
And you guys know Nazizi is always happy on Empress Divine.
Oh, yeah.
But today I'm super, super, super happy because we have a very special edition of Empress Divine for you. It is called Empress Divine Diaspora Connect.
Yeah, man.
So we have Simon Okello from One Vibe Africa in Seattle. He was raised in Kisumu, grew up here in the ghetto in Manyata. I've been there with him a couple of times. He's helping his community, but also he's doing Diaspora Connect all the way in Seattle. So we want to link you with stories of empresses who are living in the diaspora, who have made big moves in the diaspora as well. So today we will be interviewing Catherine Wambaa Nyarumbwa, and we have a couple of questions for her, of course. And, you know, we're super excited for this edition of Empress Divine.
Yes, sir.
So, Riddick, you know, the first question I had, you know, through Simon was, how did you end up in Seattle?
Great question. So, I born and raised in Kenya, obviously.
Yeah.
I moved out to Seattle when I was 21 years old. And the back story of how I got here is my mom and dad were in a sort of domestic relationship kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's her story to tell, but long story short, she ended up in Seattle, was living on the west side in Port Orchard. And at the time, she was able to file asylum for my brother and my two younger brothers and myself because we were underage at the time.
Right.
But the whole process didn't go through until I was 21. And so that's in June of 2005. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Most definitely a very interesting story, you know. And the second question I personally that I had was very... I saw the video, you know, I just had to wonder, you know, how did was you able to adjust to the environment, you know what I mean? So let us hear how she was able to adjust to the environment.
Well, I'll start from the day I landed at SeaTac Airport. My mom at the time was taking classes. She was going to a community college in Bremerton, and so she had turned her phone off. And so we land, and in her mind, she thought we were coming the next day. Myself and my two younger brothers.
Oh.
So there's a gap between my brother and the one that follows. There's a 7-year gap. And then between me and my last born, there's a 10-year gap.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody, at the time, I looked like I was 16,
Yeah.
even though I was 21.
Yeah.
But we sort of were treated good, so that was a good thing. Unaccompanied minor style, you know. So my mom's phone was off. She was in class, and I remember being there, and I don't know why I didn't even have any money on me. Like, I just thought, hey, I'm going to America. My mom's waiting for me. So I remember like asking for an Asian lady. Actually, I was like, hey, do you mind if I use your phone to call my mom? And she didn't pick up. So. Long story short, we were in the airport for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, until she got off class and obviously heard the voice messages and sent my uncle who lived across, just literally across from the airport, and came and picked us up and then she came later.
Yes, I most definitely.
Let me tell you, me, if I'm a youth and then I've reached a foreign and then I'm calling my mom and she's not picking up, I would freak out. And that's Catherine Wambaa Nyarumbwa, who lives in Seattle, and we are speaking to her courtesy of One Vibe Africa today on Empress Divine. And another question that we had was, if she was to compare between home and Seattle, if she had money, where would she choose to be?
One of the things that I remember about that year specifically is I actually fell into a very deep depression. And my brothers go to school, and I still wasn't in college at the time, so I was home alone in this house by myself. It's dark at like 4 p.m. and I'm like, what is going on? And it was severe actually, because I remember my mom was like, you probably need to see somebody. And I did see a counselor who said, oh, turn on all the lights in the house, make sure it's bright. And because my personality, I'm very bubbly and I'm very, so when my mom's like, this girl, there's something going on here. And she couldn't understand what that was. And I had felt maybe I didn't know anybody in Port Orchard. It was just me.
And today we have a special Empress Divine Diaspora Connect. Yeah, man. And we are speaking to Empress Catherine Wambaa Nyarumbwa about when she moved to Seattle, some of the challenges, how she was able to adjust to the new environment and, all those things. And we still have a couple of more questions for her. Riddick, what was your question?
My question was, so what does she do for a living in the diaspora?
So currently I work in pediatrics as a nurse. I work down in Tacoma. So we're like about 30 minutes from where we're at right now.
Pediatric, being a nurse. Riddick, your mom is a nurse.
Yeah, my mom's a nurse.
And she's still working as a nurse.
Yep.
It's really tough also being a nurse for kids because you see them going through so much.
Yeah.
So that's what the Empress does for a living. She is a nurse. Want to know, when she went there, she got depressed, right? Because the weather was funny and she wasn't really ready for it.
Yeah, no.
So my question is, how did you get out of depression?
I connected with people. No, I remember. So after the whole kind of depression thing, my mom kept asking me, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And at the time, I really wanted to travel. Again, it goes back to my dream.
Right.
I wanted to travel, so I thought, flight attendant. Anything. I mean, we're in America. Anything is possible, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna, apply for the flight attendant thing,
Yeah.
and that didn't work. And then, but Alaska was hiring for a back office type position.
Alaska Airlines.
Yes,
Okay.
Alaska Airlines.
Alaska, yeah.
Yes. So I went and I applied. They have this onboarding class that you have to memorize every city by their code. So like Seattle is SEA, right?
Yeah.
And then and I was so confused. I'm like, why? Let's just use the whole name. Like, why do we need... But anyway, needless to say, that did not work because I failed the test. But I ended up just getting into healthcare, which is something that people in our community, that's kind of... And originally, that's what I wanted to veer off from, because everybody was kind of going in that direction.
I saw a picture of my president standing alongside Caesar Kalanji, giving him honors for reggae music, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that was legendary, man. We love it. We love it.
Yes,
and,
sir.
we are on Empress Divine today. We have a special edition speaking to an Empress Divine, Catherine Wambaa Nyarumbwa, who's in Seattle in the United States of America. And our interview is asking her a couple of questions,
Yeah, man.
And, Riddick, a lot of people I know, they're stuck in a box mentally. When we say this box, it's like, if I can't have a 9-to-5 job, I can't survive. If I don't have a monthly salary, then I'm poor, and all these things that keep our mind in a box. So the next question that we had for the Empress is, how did you get out of the box, the whole 9-to-5 job, and an advice for the young Empresses who are relocating to the States?
I think the question we should be asking is, how do you want to live? And find a vehicle that's going to give you the lifestyle. Because I think we struggle a lot with, we don't have time for family. We don't have time for the things that we value. Like, we're very communal people. And I think because of the box that we've kind of sort of gotten ourselves into, we don't do the things that we want to do. I was just last night, I was talking to a friend of mine who, just is recently going through a divorce. Right. And I know that, just based on that conversation, it was people going in two totally different directions, working two different shifts. You have kids in between, and so communication goes down, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, I would be like, what kind of life do you want? Yeah. And then from there, if okay, I want to do something that's going to allow me to have time with my family, that's going to give me a good, income, then find a vehicle that's going to do that for you. But I think we, and obviously our parents also they kind of push us. Oh, there's money in healthcare. Yeah, but at the cost of what?
Yes, sir, most definitely. It's amazing when she says, find what drives you, because a lot of people in life don't find that.
Yeah, and also, a lot of our parents and people will send us abroad for a better life. But one thing I like that the Empress said is, for the cost of what? Because you sometimes leave the comfort of your home and what you know to go to a foreign, and then you end up coming back depressed and not even able to smile or be happy again.
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of people, that happens to them, you know what I mean? Yes, and a lot of whole heap of people have found Haile Selassie like I and I, you know what I mean? So, yes, I up with the questions, I also would like to know, what advice would you give them when it comes to paving your own path, making your own way in life?
So if you know the line, like whatever it is that you want to do, if it's impact, a lot of us want impact, but if you like find that thing, the first thing that I would tell them is embrace failure, because it's in your failures that you're gonna know who you really are. And just be persistent. Just be persistent. Go after that dream, because nobody great, I believe, nobody great ever achieves greatness just by like, oh, I tried one time and here I am. No, it's like, just keep going. The other thing I would tell them is associate yourself with people who have a common vision, like-minded. People that are, people that are moving in the same direction. And I wish I knew this, or maybe there was a conversation like this when I had just first moved here, because had I known what I know now, I think I would have changed my association. I would have done things differently. I would have found different friends. But, it's my story. I embrace it. I needed to go through that to grow, to become the person that I was meant to be, and share my experiences.
Yeah, man. And today on Empress Divine, we are talking to an Empress who's in the United States of America, in Seattle. Her name is Wambaa Nyarumbwa, and she's telling us about her story of when she moved to America and some of the challenges and how she worked to get out of some of the challenges as well. And yes, we have a few more questions for her. And the next question is, what advice would you give people about money, right?
When it comes to finances, and I was at a place in my 20s where nobody had taught me, hey, maybe you should learn how to budget your money. Moving here as a 21-year-old, you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, but not knowing what to do with it, how to steward it, how to steward it properly. You can mess yourself up. And I was in a hole just because, there was no financial education. I was not, nobody was teaching me. I got in debt because everybody I was around, again, association, everybody, it's so okay in America to be in debt. So I think number one, starting by educating yourself, or finding people that are going to educate you so that you can have that, number one, get your house in order and then be able to give. I think it's huge. And going back to the whole box thing is learning how to get yourself out of that box. Because as long as you're in that box, I don't think you're going to be able to do a lot of the things that you want to do. That's just, that's what I think.
Yes, sir, most definitely.
Yeah, man. And, money is a big thing when you go to the foreign because, she said, Catherine said, every 2 weeks in the States you're getting a paycheck. You're 21 years old, umetoka kwa msoto za Kenya, hapa za kukabila job, and then nobody's telling you how to budget this money. And that's how I felt when I went to Malaysia. Like, I had my allowance and I knew how much my bills came up to. But with the extra money, I wasn't thinking of budgeting or saving. I was just thinking of buying clothes, buying Adidas, buying Nike. And then one time, I'm telling you, I literally had to beg somebody to give me money for food.
And the funny part is with going up in a foreign, is if you can't budget yourself, Rasta, livity becomes very, very hard. And especially if someone is in school and working at the same time, it becomes really, really hard to balance. It's like juggling. You're trying to juggle a social life, education life, and work life all together, And, here in Africa, we get it real easy, if you ask me, because at a personal point of view, I feel like if you're at home, chances are always better at home other than going in a foreign.
I believe that.
Yeah, man. So most definitely, I love how she said, you have to educate yourself, because the funny part is, when I was in the States, just as you said about getting a check 2 weeks, I was in school and working. Then the work money started blurring me and, you
lose focus.
Started losing focus, getting overtime and avoiding classes, you know what I mean? So most definitely for people out there, if you're in school and you need to remember always education is the key to betterment, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. We want to say a big thank you
Yes,
to
I
the
must-
Empress Divine, because seriously, it is so important as youths and as people who are planning to live in a foreign to know what some of the challenges are, so you don't get into depression, so you know how to budget your money. And as a young Empress, you have to learn how to think outside the box when you're moving to a new land.
Yes, I most definitely. So, big up yourself, Simon Okello, for this one Vibe Africa for the Diaspora Connect, you know what I mean? Because, yes, I most definitely, such interviews are going to be more coming your way, and, the power in them. You cannot, once, I need you to be making sure you got bundles, man. I feel like I need to sambaza someone a bundle.
Now, let me tell you something. You don't have to sambaza them. All they have to do to win some cash is to listen to Seas Uncircled, because we're giving a chance of walking away with a cool 1,000 shillings that you can use for airtime and, on the money song. It's so simple. We'll play you a cash register sound effect. That sounds like what, Riddick?
It sounds like...
Yeah, man. So when you hear the cash register sound effect, and then we will play the money song of the day, and immediately you hear the song, please call us on 0719-012-700. And when you call us, the opening line has to be 104.5 Vibes Radio. Nobody can stop reggae, and tell us which is the money song. It's that simple. If you are lucky enough to be the 14th caller when your call goes through and you say Vibes Radio, Nobody Can Stop Reggae, then you name the money song, you will get a cool 1,000 shillings. Vibes Radio, money song, Nobody Can Stop Reggae.